Hey everyone, this is Dan with Wise Money Tools, and I want to talk about the coaching trap. You know, it seems like everywhere you look, people are paying $20,000, $50,000, even $100,000 or more for seminars, masterminds, or some kind of coaching program. And the promise, of course, is financial freedom, passive income, and a chance to be your own boss. But here's the truth. Many of these programs are just funnels. You pay big money up front, then get steered toward the next deal. They profit whether you do or not. Now, let me just say, there are definitely people who get results. But for the most part, the reality is kind of frustration, sunken costs, and years of chasing deals that never quite work out. So let's pull back the curtain just a bit, see what really happens. Let's just look first at the real estate reality, if you will. Real estate seminars are everywhere. And again, you might pay $97 or $197 for the first introduction, but ultimately the idea is for you to pay $20,000, $30,000 or more for a 2 or 3 day boot camp. And then you walk away with binders and calculators and spreadsheets and all the confidence that you're about to strike gold. And I don't want to tell you that I've never done those things. Of course I have. I think anybody who's been trying to find wealth and looking for opportunities has fallen into those kinds of traps, if you will. But here's the reality. In real estate in particular, you could spend months searching for that perfect property. You could run your due diligence, your financials, look at leases, do inspections, do environmental studies, everything else that's required. And then you crunch the numbers again and again. And sadly, most deals just don't pencil out. And then finally, if you do close on a property, well, now the real work begins and it never ends. First, you got to find financing. Then you got to bring in tenants. You got to deal with toilets and maintenance and employees and the management headaches. The dream of passive income often turns into a full-time job. And then you've got to include managers and expenses and the surprises that cut into your returns. Now, the alternative is just to invest with a firm that's already doing it. But that, unfortunately, is going to cut into your returns big time. Now, let's be honest. Real estate has created plenty of millionaires. There's no doubt. But it's really not that easy. Liquidity can be low to none, all right? Cash flow can take years. And the risks, kind of like market downturns, costly repairs, they're always lurking in the backgrounds. It's wealth with strings attached, if you will. Well, then you might take the startup gamble, if you will. Maybe you think, let's forget real estate. I'll get into venture capital. It sounds kind of glamorous. I mean, being an early investor in the next Uber or Facebook. But here's the truth. 9 out of 10 startups fail. Your money can also be locked up for years. You're betting on a team that you barely know, chasing an idea that may never gain traction. The seminar sponsors promising you insider deals, well, they're going to get paid no matter what. And you're the one taking all the risk. I love these seminars. They start with a $97 offer, get you into a room, and then that turns into a $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 offer just for the opportunity for them to bring you a deal. And at best, startup investing is kind of like buying a little bit of a lottery ticket. It takes about 1 out of 10, to really get the scratch off correctly. Well, how about the business? How about going and just starting a business? I'll go buy a current business. Well, here's what that really means. You got to first find the right business. It can be a lot like finding the right piece of real estate. Then you got to dig into their financials, understand their employees, any kind of leases or debt that they have. Then you might have to arrange financing. Obviously, you're going to have to negotiate your terms, get a lawyer, get that all put together. Then, congratulations, you're the boss. Now you get to deal with payroll, HR, taxes, regulations. You get a few sleepless nights. And instead of that freedom, you've really just bought another job, one with more stress, more liability, and fewer guarantees. Now, here's the common thread between all of them. Whether it's real estate, startups, buying a business, they all share the same kind of flaws. They have a high cost of entry. They have massive time commitments. They are fairly risky on the high side. They have long wait times before you really see meaningful returns. And then they've got the heavy execution burden, if you will. Meanwhile, the one thing that you can never get back is the time that's slipping away. So let me introduce you to the simplicity of a token. So now let's just flip the script a little bit to how we combine a token with life insurance. No, it's not a $20,000 or $100,000 seminar expense. We don't have any binders or training or spreadsheets. There's no tenants, toilets, or employees. There's no rolling the dice on a startup. It's really simple. You buy the token, you let it compound, you watch your wealth grow, and you take the income when you want it. It's really that simple. So instead of locking your money up for the next decade, hope that it grows, hope that it will produce cash flow, this actually has a daily yield. So instead of chasing the deals, we let math do the work. And unlike managers, markets, employees, the math never calls in sick. It really boils down to one thing. It's the power of compounding. You see, Albert Einstein called compounding the eighth wonder of the world. Why? Because it's like a snowball rolling down the hill. The longer it rolls, the bigger and the faster it grows. So here's an example. $100,000 invested in real estate at a 6% simple interest rate is $6,000 a year. That's $60,000 over 10 years. That's a pretty typical payout if you're not only the owner, but maybe a syndicator where you're investing with another company. So that same $100,000 compounding annually at 6% is $179,000 in 10 years. So it's critical to understand compounding. Again, if I go $100,000 invested in real estate and it's at simple interest, $6,000 a year, $60,000 over 10 years. But again, that same $100,000 compounding annually at 6% is $179,000 in that same 10-year period. Now, what if I'm compounding monthly instead of annually? Well, now again, that same 6%, but I'm getting paid monthly, so I compound monthly, turns into $182,000. Now, let's raise the return just a little bit. What if you were getting 20% compounded annually? Well, that's $619,000. Now, let's raise the return a little bit. 20% of $100,000 is $20,000. In the next 10 years, at simple return, I would get $200,000. However, if I take that 20% and compound it annually, that's $619,000 in 10 years. So, simple question. Would you rather have $200,000 paid out in simple interest or $619,000 paid out in compound annual interest? But watch this. What if I compounded the same 20% but monthly? Well, now we're looking at $729,000. And here's what you need to understand about monthly rental income is it does not compound. Because unless you have somewhere that you can instantly invest it into another property, which isn't easy to do, it's not going to compound. It's simple interest. It's going to sit there in the bank in some place, most likely not getting hardly any return until you find another investment for it. So that's the difference between simple interest and true compounding. And what we want to do in this token is compound every single month. So if I did a side-by-side comparison, and let's just say commercial real estate. First off, I might have paid $20,000 to $30,000 for the course. It might take me months, potentially even years, searching for that right deal. Then I'm going to probably have delayed cash flow for who knows how long. Then again, I'm going to deal with tenants and banks and management headaches. So conversely, if I just buy the token, I buy it. I compound from day one. The growth you can track on your phone, on an app, as easy as that. The returns come in multiples, not just percentages. There's no expertise needed. Anyone can do it. No course, no coaching, no big fee up front. It's really not a hard choice when you look at it. So let's talk about the what if moment. What if you started compounding 5 years ago? While others were spending thousands on seminars, chasing deals, getting coaching, you've been quietly compounding month after month. Well, where would you be today? More importantly, where will you be in another 5 years? So what's the next step? Here's the bottom line. You don't need seminars. You don't need courses. You don't need coaching. You don't need masterminds. You don't need motivational speeches telling you how great you are. What you need is a patent pending process that compounds your money as often as daily, certainly monthly, and definitely yearly, without friction, fees, or frustration. With the token, you can replace your income, build your wealth, and do it faster and easier than the best coaches and courses out there. The only thing more powerful than compounding is the compounding that actually starts today. So what's the next step? Book a strategy session with us now. We'll walk you through everything step by step and even show you conservative projections that most investors find better than the investments that they're currently in or chasing down. No gurus, no gatekeepers, no games, no coaches, no courses, no fees, just pure compounding and income. Want to see how this could work for you? Let's have a chat. Reach out, contact information's below, schedule a time that works for you. Talk to you next time. Take care.